Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 128 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene here in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week, we'll have a short and sweet episode with a new topic and new special guest. I'm Christian Dallas Smith. I'm a player for the Texas Titans, and this episode we're going in the pits with Anthony Vitale and John Jackson, owners of Wasteland Paintball Park and hosts of the upcoming 2025 Paintball Combine. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
What's up? What's up?
Well, thank you for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you both on. I know the Wasteland, ownership change is a fairly recent thing, and I know that things have been moving pretty quickly around there trying to get things ready for the combine. So definitely want to talk to you guys more about that. And hopefully tonight we won't get banned. So for anybody who's listening live, YouTube decided that one of the ads that I've been running for the past year is, not kosher anymore. So unfortunately that episode with Archie last night did get taken down. I save all of my recordings locally to my computer, so I will be re-uploading that later this week if you're looking for that. But yes, in the meantime, won't be running my pre-roll ads until I can get that figured out. So yeah, we're going to get started. This first question is for John, because you are a newcomer to the show. This one's brought to us by XTPL Events. So for those listening that maybe don't know about you or your history, how long have you been involved in the Texas paintball scene?
As young as you physically can. I was 12 years old at a birthday party, and my brother and I played for the first time, and then pretty much within a couple years worked for a local field, started reffing, all that good stuff, then started playing local three-man tournaments, and then formed our own team, all that good stuff. So that was first started playing in 1998 at a local field, and I think we played our first event in probably 2001, the first three-man HRL event. So ever since then, it's been every day, all day, probably for 8 days a week type thing. So full paintball nerd over here.
Oh yeah, I there's a lot of people that I've had on the show that got their early start in Tank's Rookie League. It's also been a little bit since I've heard anybody with that background. So cool that the alumni from the HRL are still going strong within the paintball community.
If you look at pretty much every pro from Houston, anybody that's went pro from Houston area, they've all played HRL. Devin Stewart, I think, played. Nico Hyde played. My brother and I played. You had Lucian Blackburn way back in the day, played for Trauma. He played HRL work. I don't know if he played in HRL. I think he did, but we kind of grew up that same time period. Anthony, do you know Lucian? You know who that is?
Yes.
Yep. So he was our manager when we first started working our very first field. So it's a small circle there for Cam McCarty, played for Diesel, I believe, HRL, all those guys. Every one of these guys played. HRL's around like 13 years. So it was great for Houston.
Yeah, for sure. And Enzo's in the chat. Joseph Enz Biglis, I think is how you say his last name. Giving a shout out to VCK, the Van Crew Killers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So John, what are some teams that you've played with over the years?
I'm pretty one of the few. I don't think I've played as many as a lot of other players. So my very first team ever was Organized Chaos. If you look at the Proedge logo star, that's where that star comes from. Was my very first team we played our first national event in 2003, and then we played MPPLs after that till 2007. VCK, as Joe just mentioned, helped coach VCK. I think it was 2009, and then started playing a couple years later until we earned our pro spot. And then AC Dallas. Those are the three. And I did have 1 year on Ironman a few years ago. But that's it. Everybody local that we've had a huge part of it, most of them being old Organized Chaos or VCK guys that I mentioned earlier, almost the same crew all the way up.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty rare thing in paintball, especially nowadays. You see players in divisional hopping teams all the time. Look at the current silly season that's going on for the pro division. It seems like there's more players that have changed teams than not at this point. There's been a lot going on. But I've also heard from so many people that have come on the show that staying with the same team for multiple seasons helped accelerate their growth more than anything else.
Yeah, I really learned that like when you have a core group of guys like TJ and I and my brother, you can work together and it helps you just grow and look at some of the heat guys, right? Same core guys. Look at the damage guys, a lot of those same core guys. You don't realize it until looking back. It's like most of those squads have been the same core guys for so very long, and that team is kind of built around those guys. So it really helps you. Where a lot of your younger individuals, like we were talking about going tryouts, some of these guys just jump from team to team and they don't really, that's got to be so hard to do. The 1 year I played on Ironman, I felt was completely lost with the playing style and just trying to fit in everything. It was tough.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a long time just to learn the codes and get used to using them as naturally versus like, oh, I see something, I have to think about it and then I say it. But by then, that's however much time that takes.
Yeah.
So yeah, this
you have a team has been around for a while with the same players. That foundation's already built. They're working on third and fourth story stuff when new teams were still working on building their foundation. So yeah, you're in a disadvantage when you start playing teams that have that core. The dynasties and whatever those non-moving pieces really get to build on next level things while you're still, even though the players are really high level, you still need to come together as a squad.
I think that's where Diesel struggled, right? They didn't have a core anymore. They didn't have a core, a structure, or anything really built to build on. It was kind of thrown together, and I don't think it stuck very good. So
yeah, it's very rare that a super team just becomes immediately successful when adding that many pieces. And I mean, there's a lot of moving parts around, but I feel like consistency and stability is a thing that's very overlooked, especially in the pro division. They just see, oh, this player is like maybe the best in his position going to another team full of other players that are best in their positions. But how long is it going to actually take before they see success? We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear my kid in the background?
Nope.
Okay, cool. He's eating dinner right now. He's screaming his head off. So if you do, I apologize.
It's all good. So yeah, guys, this one's brought to us by Sasha and his 3v3 league, the San Antonio 3v3. So what are some things that you guys have noticed that have changed within either the Texas scene or the tournament scene as a whole over the last couple of years, or even since the time that you started getting involved?
Oh, you, Anthony, you've been around a little bit longer than me.
I was going to say, well, then I have to retreat of things that have changed. But yeah, I've gone through a lot of formats. I will say that I don't know if it's happened in Texas yet, and John and I were talking about this when designing Wasteland, but 10-man has made a really big resurgence here in New England, and a few of the local fields have built 10-man team fields, hyperball, mounds, and leagues are starting to pop up in one-off events, and they're starting to get a lot of traction, 14, 18 teams, and I was talking to John that I'd like to see that happen in Texas. So we plan on putting in a 10-man hyperball field and maybe holding a couple events per year and see what type of response we would get. So that's one thing that I've seen is kind of all the old things are starting to come back around. The Revo goggles, a throwback to the old Revo 1. So these things kind of come back around with styles, and I think 10-man was one of those things that I started playing again with, and I had the ability now to play with my son, who played on NYX for a year and has been playing for a while, but then he grew up and started not playing, so it was great to come back and play with him.
Yeah, I think John, you've definitely stayed a little bit more involved in the 10-man stuff even after you stopped playing in the NXL, but I know that ICPL just recently held an event at was it Official that hosted the ICPL? Yeah, and there were quite a few Texas teams there. John, I know you played with Valhalla over the last few years.
Sorry to interrupt. I forgot to mention them earlier. They're going to give me a hard time for that. Sorry.
Yeah, shout out to Valhalla. And I think it's starting to take effect. I know Greg Pauly's really trying to get the 10-man thing kind of off the ground here in Texas. But at the same time, there's just so much like X-Ball that's really taken hold between the USXBL, all of the local leagues, HTPS. So we'll see how much interest that garners across the state. But yeah, John, how about you?
We did a 10-man Streetball event at local field TXR here, not too far from where I live, and we had 125 players show up, and it was electro and mechanical. So that was like the first big like, wow, there might be some excitement, in this idea. But yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, I would love to see it. I'm really surprised. Texas is usually pretty up to date on the rest of the country. I feel like in a lot of trends, and that one has not taken off. The mechanical hasn't taken off, especially here in Houston. And then of course for official being so close, I don't know anybody that from Houston as a team that went to go play that. So there's a lot of growth that we can still see that one. But as overall changes, I mean, like I said, we track pretty much the rest of the country, but this for style wise, it's been kind of interesting to watch. We haven't seen a lot of like, I think our team paintball has fallen off here in Houston. I've kind of given the local guys a hard time. Like, Houston used to be real competitive, and now I feel like we're non-existent on the map. So I tell them all the time, I got a new trophy case to build. We got a lot of work to do. So that's what I tell them every weekend. But I'd really like to see just more practices, more drills as far as that side of paintball goes. It might be a little more specific, but we don't really see a lot of. I feel like we don't see a lot of that grind anymore. They're done by 1:00 on Saturdays or Sundays sometimes, and that old school. I mean, Anthony, you grew up at a different time too, right? Like, I mean, you get there super early and you leave super late when the sun goes down. We don't see that at all anymore. It seems like so.
We just had a league meeting here for our X-Ball League, and I always try to tell the teams, like, use your time efficiently when you go to practice with a purpose. And I would rather see you guys buy 2 cases of paint, stay here for a longer time, and then take the next weekend off, than to see you come every weekend, only buy 1 case of paint, be out of here by noontime, 1:00, because that's going to do burnout. One, you're not going to get an effective practice. You're not really going to get better. And then your family, your girlfriend, whatever, you are going to suffer as well. So I'd rather see you just come with a purpose, grind out, like John said, to 3-4 o'clock, go home, and then take the next weekend off. And then you got the balance of your life. You don't get burnout. So yeah, practicing effectively will lead to, again, better play, but also long-term benefits and having that balance in your life.
One thing I really like that Texas has now is I'd like to know another city or another state, who has more turfed fields within like 4 or 5 hours of each other. We have X Factor's got 2. X Factor's got
now.
2. Fit. Oh yeah, that's right. They just added the new one. Fit has 3. Wasteland has 2. Legends has 1. Zone has 1 here in Houston. And Splat has 1. We have 4 different facilities in Houston alone that have turf fields. And so what's really cool to see is these teams that are traveling just on a random weekend. They're like, oh, I'm going to Dallas. I'm going to San Antonio. Outlaw and Austin, they've got 1 as well. Or they got just 1, I think. That is crazy to me to think like 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I remember field owners being like, should I do turf? And I was like, how much is it? No, that's crazy. And now everybody has it, and it's what we expect, and it's the standard, which is amazing. So I love that about Texas. I don't know. Again, Anthony, you can tell me about other parts of the country better, but how many, within probably 4 hours, let's say 4 hours from every single central location, there's that many fields with turf, with high-end turf fields ready to go.
Obviously, Texas is massive, but New England is probably the size of Dallas area. Like, that's 5 states. So, but yeah, we have every field that has airball has turf, but there's probably 5 of us. But that's in 5 states. But again, over the land area, it might be, a fifth of Texas.
It's still awesome to see that level of the standard of paintball has just increased so much more. The mud, you remember, just mud and miserable and all that good stuff. That's when our focus at Wasteland, right, is try to get this thing where I don't care if it rains too much, we're going to be dry the whole time. That's what I've really been working on.
Yeah, the standard in Texas has been really, really just pushing the rest of the country. I feel like Paintball Fit's definitely been the leader of that, not just with the quality of their turf fields. More recently, they did the night ball, which I feel like has just popped up everywhere since Paintball Fit unveiled it with the way that they've done it with the LEDs. And now even like the glow in the dark stuff is starting to become a trend across the country as well.
Yeah, and what's incredible about that is, at first glance, all of us tournament guys go, oh, it's tournament guys playing at night. And if you talk to them, a lot of that is your beginner players getting into it. It's more fun. It's not as hot. It's way more exciting. It's, we always complain. I always complain. It's hard to watch paintball. Well, you can see it now. One of my favorite videos is I remember who posted it up, but you could actually see the lane shooting and see the rec ball kids shooting each other. It was incredible. So I think that's going to be a game changer. If we can just make it more fun to those type players and get them more interest in it, it's going to definitely help in long term.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've seen that other places, like you said, are popping up with the cosmic ball and the glow in the dark paint. But from a rec standpoint too, you start doing things at night. From a business side of things, when you have a field owner, you're looking at it as what demographics can I hit, and people don't look at it as time of day demographic, but it is. There are some people that do their activities at night, and they don't really, they work during the day, say, or they work weekends, and all of a sudden you do something on a Friday night or a Wednesday night or any night, and you have a new demographic of people that you expose paintball to. So having night games is very effective.
Definitely. I hope it catches on even more than it already has. So, Anthony, this one's for you, and it's brought to us by Jonathan Spaniel and his website, which go check out his website if you know it. So, Committed Paintball and Twister have been really busy lately with several just absolutely fantastic releases since we last spoke, which I think not the least of which is the Revo 2 bottoms, which everyone has been going absolutely crazy for. So tell us more about what I guess Twister and Committed have been up to since we last spoke a year ago, and if you have any future items that you want to tease.
At T2, Austin and I have been hard at work trying to get a bunch of new products ready for 2025. It's no secret that the Revo 2s have been pretty big success. We're happy with it. The mold came out great. It was over a year that we were tinkering back and forth, making the thicknesses and the finishes, having the two-tone finish like the original Revo had, with the glossy on the high side and the matte finish on the inside. Something that we really wanted to make sure we got it right, and everything was tested so that finish wasn't wearing off or anything like that. So we're real happy with the product. We launched the 3 colors. The black pretty much sold out. The clear is sold out. Some of the whites now are getting low, and people are dyeing them, and they're coming out super cool, because it's crazy. You would think that every mold and every mask would be similar, but like our mask is different. I don't know why, but the feel and touch of the bottom, how it takes dye is different, and they've been very cool with the vibrant colors that people are coming out with. So you might see some cool dye jobs that we might have coming out in the future that are going to be limited drops with some of the white goggles that we did. And we are going to keep everything limited. So when we make runs, we're only making the minimum run of 756. And then we don't have any plans to revisit any of the colors that we've done already. We've got probably 2 or 3 years worth of different releases already planned out. So we probably won't have even another. I don't think I have a duplicate color until like 27, 28, where we might come out with another black product or something. But we've got a special edition matte one that is only being distributed to teams that we sponsor this year. So we did a big sponsorship with teams, and that particular bottom was had to be produced before the mold was completed. So those will be the most rare, because they'll never be duplicated again. The mold can't even produce a totally matte mask anymore. So that one there has been very limited. That is going through our Twister team program. And there's lots of other Revo 2 products I can't talk about, but I can tell you that we're dropping, and everybody kind of has been waiting for this all year, but we'll be dropping our Cocker release at the end of this month, and it's crazy. It might be our best design yet.
Sweet. Yeah, you guys have been killing it with the mask thing is just the probably the most recent thing, and the thing that's been flooding everybody's Facebook feeds. I feel like all of these for sale, resale, searching for posts. It's been an absolute hit for sure. And that's just the mask, and that's not even including like the different markers and other things that you guys have had going on. So just as far as like the markers go, how has that looked?
Luckily enough, we were able to sell out everything pretty quickly. We are releasing our heritage like we do every year at the very end of the year. We hold back. We're going to have I believe it's 10 LV2s and 10 CS3s and unique heritage colors that are going to be available on this drop. It might even drop this Friday. They're putting together the guns now and just making sure, putting all the last little bit of trim that T2 and Austin like to put on everything to make them unique. So we're hoping to drop heritage guns this Friday, and then we'll have a Cocker drop with the rest of the stuff that's dropping for Christmas the following Friday.
Sweet. I know a lot of people are going to be looking forward to that. So yeah, John, this one's for you. It's brought to us by Bem Wraps. So just to touch a little bit on your playing career, I guess your most recent professional career. So after the 2021 season, you retired from pro play, but you went to go coach Impact while your brother Matt played for that team, and you got your first gold medal as a assistant coach for them. So what did it feel like to finally break that, like the string of second places that AC Dallas was kind of infamous for?
That's ridiculous. I like that you brought that up because we just counted TJ. TJ's up to like 14 second places on X Factor right now.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. And I mean, it was incredible. That was my favorite. I didn't think winning as a coach, Impacts obviously wins events, and my brother had great luck on that team. And I was like, well, maybe we'll win one. I didn't know how excited I'd be. But that for me, like, shout out to Dave Baines. Him and I butt heads for sure throughout the season. But that event, I remember the conversation we had. I remember the moment that it clicked. I remember the time he gave me a little bit more responsibility, let me do some scouting, let me make some play calls throughout the season or throughout that event. And even there's one time we were talking and I said, hey, I have this play, I have this idea, but I'm running into the issue. And he said, well, what about this instantly? And I said, absolutely. And that's what he ran with the rest of the event. He, of course, was in charge of most of the play calls and everything and get a little feedback from me in there. But it was incredible because I had actually, of course, like any new job, it's hard for somebody to trust you to take the reins and be a part of it. So Dave, of course, has his way. He's proven he's good at what he's doing. But that event was one he really let me be a part of it. And we worked incredible. I've told him that was my favorite event, I think, especially as a coach and intellectually, because I gave some feedback. It worked great. And then we freaking, they crushed it in some of his moves that he did. Anyways, it was incredible to me. There's a picture of me, which I hate because I'm like looking ridiculous, when you cry and, you're excited, whatever. And I have it in my room. I should have grabbed it. But I've got the biggest smile while crying at the same time, and I'm hugging my brother at the same time. And so it's incredible. It's I wanted it as a player, obviously, but I'll take it as a coach. And then what really messed me up was when I think it was Dave or Bart handed me like the MVP coach, most valuable coach award or whatever plaque, and I have that one. And like I'm gonna get emotional for it, but that's a lot coming from those guys that have won, everything. They've literally you have a paintball tournament, they've been there, they've won it type thing. And so for them to hand that to me, it was incredible feeling, and to be a part of it was awesome. And then the players. Man, the players are super supportive. They were cheering because they didn't know I had never won before, and so as soon as they found out, it was hats off on that. It was incredible. So, shout out to TJ Danner. You got to get one, bud. It feels great. So hopefully he can get one. I guess Archie came back this year, so hopefully they can pull one out for him. So, but yeah, it's incrediable. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, we definitely are trying to get TJ his first. I've been working on that for a few years now.
I got you.
I've got a feeling. Got a feeling it's going to happen.
I'm going to call his mom, Priscilla, if she's watching, or Terry. I'm going to call his dad. TJ, you got to get on here. Your mom's going to be mad at you if you don't. That's who you need to talk to. She's in charge.
Yeah, well, we'll get it done. All right. So, John, I also do want to talk about your involvement with Proedge. And this one's brought to us by Mariachi Águilas de Oro. So tell us more about kind of the history of Proedge and what all you currently do for them.
So I don't know if that question makes it sound like people don't know, which is totally fine, but I actually own Proedge. I'm the owner of the store. And so I was 22, give you a brief rundown. I was 22 working for a field, actually working for Tank's Field that ran HRL. And had a conversation with one of Tank's partners at the time about opening a business. He came up with the idea. Him and his wife had a small store. He said, it'll be cool. You'll get started. You learn how to run business. I just got my associate's degree. Didn't know what I was going to do in my life. And within 3 months of that conversation, literally, that was like a Friday. 3 months later, we had a storefront. And that's 16. I think July this year was 16 years. And I lived at home with my mom at the time. She's like, whatever, you're good to go. It'll be fun. You love paintball. And I worked there by myself for 6 months, and then my brother came on, He always said, "Hey, you wouldn't buy a house. You're not going to buy a car with this, but it'll be a good learning curve." I mean, the paintball industry personally has changed. Absolutely, the store has just absolutely changed my life in every which way. I mean, I wouldn't have Wasteland. I wouldn't be able to be a part of Wasteland without the support of the Houston community for Proedge. And so super thankful to every single person that's ever done anything with us and supported us in any way. But yeah, Proedge is just started for a little store. 7 years later, we opened a second store. That one collapsed literally in 11 months. We closed it down on a weekend. The landlord said, "Hey, don't go out of business. The bank's coming after me for my land. So you go ahead and get out here on weekends." So literally we pulled the sign down, pulled the vinyl off the doors, and we're out of there in 48 hours. And that almost killed the main Proedge store. Most people don't know about that one, but I learned a lot in 11 months of what not to do. I put it that way. And that was crazy. And then we moved into a larger place next door that was, I think, 2,100 square feet, something like that. We're like, "Oh, we'll never fill this up." And if you've been in the store, it is maxed out right now. So it is, and again, I got four full-time guys. Shout out to those guys, Tony, Kyle, Jonathan, and Jake, and of course all the guys that have been there before with us. And we've been through a lot of employees, but those guys have been there for, I think Jonathan left and came back 5 years. Tony's been like 5-7 years. Kyle's going on 11 years. Jake's going on 5 years. So absolutely love those guys, but they're full-time. Those guys are the only reason why I'm able to do what I can with Wasteland, is because they're holding it down over there and doing a great job. So, but for me, involvement, I'm the YouTube guy, as much as I don't really enjoy being on videos typically, but this last year we stepped it up a lot and did a ton of videos, and I haven't done a single one since I've been at Wasteland. So sorry about that, guys, but Tony stepped it up for us on that one. But yeah, man, I love, if you think you love paintball, try doing it for a living, and then you really question yourself. Shout out to Anthony here. I can call this guy at any time of the day, and he's down to talk about paintball in every way. He literally gets mad at you when you're like, "Oh, why didn't we call you if you're busy?" He's like, "This is what I do. We're good." And so it's wild on that one. But I mean, this is what I do. I love it top to bottom. I mean, I talked to a customer the other day at the field and at the store about like the humidity on a paintball and how it affects the shot and the brittleness and freezing it. And the guy's like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, you want to get nerdy with some paintball stuff? I'll jump right in on that one." So it's what I absolutely enjoy, what I do every single day. My wife just rolls her eyes when I bring anything up. She's like, "Okay, you have fun. You'll play with your paintball stuff and you're good." And but the store has been, it's not a job. It's really not. I mean, some days are tough, but I mean, anybody here that knows, if you love it, it's what you absolutely enjoy. And it's really not to say it's not that hard, but you know what I mean? It's really enjoyable. So.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to make sure to get that in. Like both of you guys do so much within the sport in almost all different aspects, but wanted to make sure we didn't gloss over Proedge and everything that you've done with them for such a long time now. And Jake Ratfield is in the chat. He says this guy's a softie.
Yeah, all right, Jake. Whatever. You probably shot him this weekend, Christian.
No, he shot me probably more than I shot him.
Oh, no, you can't give him credit at all, bro. Come on. What are you doing? You got to beat him down. Beat him down every chance you get.
No, I gotta give him props. What's that?
Is that one of the Oilers? One of the Oilers that was at the Hurricane tryout too?
Yeah. He was looking really good out there. Shout out Jake. I think. We'll see what ends up getting posted out there. I don't know anything. I wasn't good enough to make the cut for Sunday, but all stepping stones, all part of the learning process, all part of the bigger journey.
I will shout out. What I was told was the first cut was 12 people to Sunday, and out of the 12, 5 of them were from Houston, from Wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to those guys for making the effort to get out there. Appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say you were saying that Houston has gotten soft lately, but that's not what I saw this past weekend.
There's some individual players, but we got to put together on the podium. It doesn't. I mean, you can be the best single player out there, but unless you're winning, unless you got a trophy for it on Sunday, I don't know what that means. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough, but Texas as a whole has definitely been going back and forth, it feels like, between the different regions. It's one of my favorite topics, I think. It's just the differences between like Houston versus Dallas versus San Antonio versus Austin versus the Valley versus Lubbock. All of these different regions are rising at different points in time, and it feels like, especially nowadays, that nobody has a stranglehold like it used to be, even just 5 years ago.
Yeah, it is. It is wild. Most teams, of course, fit teams are doing really well. They have a great structure and everything. I don't keep up with the X Factor stuff too much, so I'm not sure what teams come out of there. Cap City Charge out of, I think, Outlaw Paintball in Austin. They won the last event of the year. I think they got second for the season. So, and we sponsor those guys. So shout out to those guys. But that was awesome to see because we had a Houston player, Jody Largent, go and play with them. He played my first national event with me back in 2003. So it was cool to see him be a part of that and get back into it. So they're definitely stepping up. I just wanted, I really enjoyed when VCK was around. I feel like we had two teams, and the D1 team won the season and the D2 team got second for the season. I mean, that was a lot of wins for one city, so that's what I was excited about. So hopefully we can get back there with Wasteland and get these guys back on top.
Yeah, I don't think the rest of Texas is going to make it that easy, though. I mean, you've got even in the Valley, you've got Texas Demolition and Semi Pro. You've got Balls Out in D3. At X Factor, you've got the Gunners who we're going back and forth with Shut Up or Trying in D5. You've got my team, the Texas Titans, who ended tied for first in the NXL series in D3, but lost it on the tiebreaker. And then over like in Lubbock, you can't count out Elite, who's been around for just such a long time. Like there's so many teams like just from all over that have had success, and they're just all hungry.
Yep. Well, none of those teams I don't think you mentioned were from Houston, so that's what I want to work on. We got a ton of fields. We got a ton of great players. We just got to put it together. That's my goal this year. Get these guys put it together. Stop playing for out-of-state teams, and let's put this talent let's make a stand for it. And I don't care if it's our field or another field. I really take pride in the Houston guys. We have a lot of really great players. We just got to piece it together. So hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, Texas is a lot of talent for sure. So this one's brought to us by Colt Roberts and his Paintball Kumite. So. And this one's for both of you guys. So a few months ago, it was announced that you both had taken over ownership of Wasteland Paintball Park just north of Houston. So how did the deal come to be, and what was it that inspired you both to take on the challenge?
So Anthony, give it from your perspective.
Okay, so age before beauty is what you're saying? I'll be honest, I've been looking to expand and get down into a southern state, whether I was looking in Florida for a bit, and Texas was the next thing that we were looking at. And when I started to look in that area, it was a no-brainer to talk to John, and I know what he brings to the table. So having a partnership with him, anytime you have like-minded people and they get together and they start bouncing ideas off of each other, then you just take it from there. So we asked, I looked around, talked to John, and he was like, hey, these are some opportunities. And we flew out, and I went out to Wasteland with John, and we took a look at the park, and we saw the potential that it had there, and kind of just went from there.
Yeah, it's pretty good timing. I mean, the field, the rumors had been going around that the field was up for sale. And it's, if it was like a super rec ball field, I may not have been so confident, but being a tournament player and the field has 2 turfed fields already, it's mainly for the tournament guys. I felt pretty confident, like, hey, look, we get a chance to purchase the land. It's got an incredible building. We have real bathrooms. We added showers into it. I mean, the bones on it, it's not like, oh, it's got good bones. It's like, for me getting excited as a player, it's got some good bones. The building's amazing. The covered area is amazing. We added covered staging, air in the pits. I'm super excited about it. But yeah, it was pretty cool because Anthony and I have never worked together. We've talked to each other, less than 20 times before that, probably?
Yeah, I mean, we were part of a collab group that we've talked to each other a couple times a year. But yeah, we weren't super tight, but I definitely respected John for everything he's done. And obviously Brad McCurley was our coach, and I followed AC Dallas a lot when they were playing together. But yeah, from a business standpoint, John's on point, and I was happy to work with him. And he has such a good pulse of what's going on in Houston, and it was really important because we in New England have such a good working relationship with all of our other fields. I knew John could bring that to Houston, and I think that's very important. If you really want to get the most out of an area, you really have to work together. And having so many fields in Houston, I don't think of it as a bad thing. The more fields there are, the more people you're exposing to paintball, and they end up traveling around. And then obviously the better parks, the more parks that give the best value are going to probably do better. But I like the fact that the pie is big there in Houston, and everybody can kind of bring something to the table. And John really being that Switzerland with Proedge just made sense as a business partner.
That's probably what sold me the most, Anthony, was you. I don't think we've ever talked about this, but you saying, "Hey, look, we work with everybody in our area. Like, are you able to do that there?" And I'm like, "We already do this because that's how I feel. It has to be the best way. Proedge wouldn't be Proedge without the support of the local fields, without a doubt. I mean, there's no question about that. So shout out to all those guys. We really appreciate it. But I'm hoping also the field's far enough away from all of them that I'm not making any of them upset. I still want to send. I've already sent parties before we were open to a couple local fields and whatnot and places. Yeah, I want to send every player to our field, but if it doesn't make sense because it's a 2-hour drive, right? Because that's the other side of Houston. So I think I was really helped me make the decision of like, oh, you're out of state. How are we going to work together? It's like, oh, we're on the same page already. Like we don't have to try to figure this out. It was very straightforward. Like both paintball nerds to top and bottom work all the time. And morally sound. I've never heard a negative thing about you at all. So I think that was really good for everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that was actually going to be my next question, which is brought to us by Jared Sherman and his website. So obviously, like Anthony not being based in Texas, like what are some of the challenges that have come along with not being local, and what is your system for navigating them?
So I've had a partner at Proedge before, and it worked really great. He gave me a credit card, and then I did all the work, and it worked great because he was a paintball guy, but he was like, "Look, you're the paintball nerd, good to go. I want to stay out of it." He gave me some feedback here and there, but I was excited because I am confident in like some of my decisions, how I like to do, and I've called Anthony probably half a dozen times at least and say, "Hey, I make him a video. This is what happens. I make him a video. By the time I end the video, I go." It's a pretty obvious answer. Hi, Anthony. I sent him the video anyway. He goes, yeah, pretty obvious answer by the time you get to the video. So obviously his experience really helps. And that's something he can provide, from afar. He can, hey, this is a great idea how we run these groups, how we run this tournament series, or how we're going to build this out, in this order, whatnot. But I personally like it a lot because if Anthony was standing over me the whole time and telling me, are you sure? Are you sure? I'd be like, I'd go crazy. So I really liked it. I know I can trust him as a person. And I know he's going to be there and work his butt off. So I don't have to worry about if he was here, there's no doubt Anthony would be there, slamming T-posts or building something at the exact same time with me. So that I don't have that. I don't have that issue knowing, well, I'm here doing all the work. But no, I wouldn't have it without Anthony, put it that way. So I am appreciative of that. But I really like it. I like it because he's not breathing over my neck the whole time.
Yeah. And I don't think there's been a decision that John's made that I would have been like, no, I would 100% not have done it that way. That hasn't happened, and when I always tell him there's no time that you can't call me and, bounce something off of me. And we have a running joke because every time he calls, I'm driving, but,
Every time. Every time.
Yeah, I want to be involved as much as possible. And I feel that I am involved and bring value to the project. But to John's point, I know that he can handle pretty much everything by himself. And a lot of times he's just reassuring him his own decision that he's already made that, hey, this is what I did, or this is what I'm going to do. What do you think? And it's like, yeah, that's what we should do. So this worked out really well.
Good so far. Well, what are we, we closed November 1st. So we're all of 6 weeks in officially owners.
Yeah.
Wow,
about 3
recent.
months in. Yeah, well, about probably 3 or 4 months we've been out there working, but it took a long time to get paperwork. My first text to the owners of Wasteland was January 18th. I found it the other day. That's how long it took us to actually close on the property and get everything organized and fixed. And yeah, it was a complicated situation, but yeah.
And that's I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into it for sure, which I'm sure like a lot of people out there don't realize, like, hey, you have to think of everything, and anything and everything can and will go wrong at any given moment, and you just have to be ready for it. And Enzo in the chat has a question. He says, now that you have a field and you've been making some progress, what's something that you would like to tell other field owners, either like current or aspiring, out there?
It's harder than you think, even if you think it's hard, and it's going to cost you more than you think it's going to cost you. But again, if you love it, just do it, man. Just go. If trust yourself, buy into it, and just you're there though. I mean, there's no time off at that point. The phone rings whenever it wants to, and the nettings will fall down when they want to, and the storms come through when they want to. So I'd say that's one thing. If you're looking for some free time, don't open a field. That's for dang sure. But yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it and a lot of experiences, but like John said, you can have all the experience in the world, but things are still going to happen. So you got to kind of be able to pivot. Things always, like John said, cost more and take longer, and that's what it is. You can shorten the time by adding on more money, or you can try and save some more money and add on time. Like you basically have to make those decisions. Um, but yeah, from a rewarding standpoint, owning a field has been great. Um, I'm lucky to be going on 33 years now of owning a field, and paintball has given me so many great things that some of the reasons why I like giving back and doing the combines and Team USA and the heroines and all those types of things is because paintball has given me so much. So I'm grateful.
To give you a funny story, our power got shut off like 3 weeks ago. I don't know if I even told Anthony this. Our power got shut off on a Friday afternoon, and we thought it was just a power outage in our area. And so Saturday morning rolls around. My manager had stayed the night there the night before. It got down to like 40 degrees in the building, so he hated me all night. And I text the neighbor, and he's like, I have power. And we look at our compressor building, and it has power, but it's on a different, not terminal, but a different meter. And so we call them, they come out, and they said, you guys just didn't pay your bill. Well, we didn't know there's 2 meters on the property. We never switched the other meter to us. It was still as the old owner. So he spent a whole night freezing his balls off because we didn't even know it existed. Like we just had no clue. And it's Saturday morning. We have a group coming out. We're stressing out. How can we run an extension cord from here? And finally, we got to shut back or turn back on. It's like there's even no way even the old owner. I called him. He's like, I had no idea there's 2 meters. I was like, oh, cool. So it's just it's fun if you can laugh at it. That's one thing I will say I've learned: laugh at the pain. If you can laugh at pain, you're crushing it. If you can laugh at the difficult stuff, then nothing's gonna keep you down at that point. So literally, I'll be at the field and just go. First diesel weekend practice. We're trying to do the layout. One of the fields floods when it rains real bad. And so it's got 3 or 4 inches. You can't see the stakes in the turf because it's covered in water. And I just laughing in the rain because we have like 3 hours left before it gets dark. I was like, we don't even own this place yet. And this is happening. So yeah, laugh at the pain. You'll make it through there. So
yeah. What's the phrase? Embrace the suck.
That's a great one. Yes. Yes. But I don't think people know what that means, right? It's a pretty generic thing. But if you really dig into that, and by I mean laugh, I literally will laugh out loud on a bad day. And you go, okay, if you can laugh at yourself, man, it's easy after that. Where again, what are they going to do to you at that point? So,
yeah, for sure. In the chat, Nicholas Pashak asks, what series would you like to see played at Wasteland in the near future?
What series? We talked to USXBL. We got to make sure we have room, but I would be honored to have Hinman at Wasteland. We have to add a 3rd field. We've got the parking situation figured out. We talked to him a little bit, but that would be incredible because he has 80 teams, 100 teams an event. So that would max out the entire the city we're in. It would max out the whole city. It wouldn't have anywhere else to stay. So
yeah, it would be great to get there.
Cleveland has 5 hotels. I've been looking for the combine, and they don't have much else, but they've got 5 hotels.
Yeah, is that enough?
Oh yeah.
Is that enough?
We only got 80. We're almost full. I think we have 5 spots left for the combine.
Nice.
So yeah, we're gonna have 80 participants, just like San Antonio. So yeah, it's crazy.
What about USXBL? They're gonna fill again. They're gonna fill up everything.
Oh yeah. They'd be at least 2 towns worth of hotels.
It's pretty far out there. Yeah.
There's the secret right there. You build a field, get all these events, and then you start investing into hotels and B&Bs surrounding. That's your moneymaker.
Yeah. I wonder what Airbnb in that area. I haven't looked at all. I'm gonna write that down.
We should buy the property across the streets for sale and just put a bunch of tiny homes.
There are 3 buildings on it, right? Yeah.
There you go. You're on it. All right. So speaking of the combine, Anthony, this one's brought to us by 71 Design. So last year you brought the combine to Texas and you hosted it at X Factor. So how did that event go for you? And what did you think of the Texas talent that showed up to try out for Team USA?
The event went flawlessly. I can't say enough about X Factor and Jeff and Alex over there being great hosts. I had planned on going back there. I asked them before I even left last year, And it's funny, when we ended up purchasing Wasteland, I called Jeff and I said, "Hey, I know that I told you that I wanted to come back, but John and I just bought this place in Houston, and I just want to make sure it's all right with you guys that I'm not going to come back this year." And Jeff's like, "Wow, you're really asking me that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I'll ask Alex." And he got back to me and said Alex was like very was awesome that you like respected us that much to ask our permission, because I would have said, "John, we can't run it. I already told these guys that we were going to run it there," even though it was just a verbal thing. But no, they were like, "No, it was awesome that you asked, but no, you got your own field 100%." So I appreciate that. And yeah, John and I are excited, and the talent in Texas is really, really good. That's an obvious statement by, like you guys were saying, how well the teams are doing nationally. Um, out of all the different parts of Texas. And yeah, we got some real young talent that was good. I even some of the talent that I saw that wasn't U16, U19 eligible was of high level. And we have a lot of same returning younger players that are hungry and trying to improve from last year. Some that weren't invited to the tryout, and then some that were invited to the tryout that didn't make the team are back for this year for the combine with another year under their belt. I think they're going to show some extra skill sets that I'm looking forward to it. So I'm always excited. Last year was the highest percentage of combine participants that were U16 and U19 eligible. I think we had 50 players that were eligible out of 80. So that's crazy. I said this on the coaches show. I'm very excited to see Hadley Korsman come out from Vibe. I think she has a legitimate chance to play on the U16 team and the women's team potentially. So she might need a little bit more experience to play on the women's team, but she's knocking on the door for sure. And I'm excited to have a female player make the U16 team. So I'm rooting for her. There was an opportunity for Janaea Curtis, who played on the Heroines the first year of the WNXL and played on the High Rollers last year. She was U16 eligible, and I was really trying to get her to play the first year of WNXL for U16, but I just couldn't make it happen with time and money or something. But I think she had a real opportunity as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah, Hadley's been a star. I don't think there's any other words for it. Like, she is U16. I think she just turned 14 or 15, and she was a starter in the World Cup finals. Like, there's nothing else to say other than, like, she's an absolute star already in her first year, and she's going to be doing great things, and it'll be really cool to see her participation in there for the combine. And I know last year there were multiple U16 and U19 players from Texas that made it on to the second round, I guess, for the final tryouts, and several Texas players that ended up getting picked up for U16 and U19. I know you had young Cameron Blanco, who's 12 or 13 at the time. He's still got 3 or 4 years of eligibility for U16 alone. And then you also had, I think, Luke Staley and was it Landon? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no, we're very happy with what we got out of Texas, to be honest. I think that's another reason why we're back here. We were in Arizona, then NorCal, then Central California, so we did the West Coast stint. Came back to Texas. We'll probably go to Florida again next year, because that's kind of where we started for national in 2019. So we're trying to make our rounds and capture as much talent as possible. But yeah, we're excited, and like I said, there's only 5 spots left, so we haven't filled up this fast. I mean, San Antonio was filled. We filled. We actually overfilled. We usually try to stop around 72, but we had to go to 80 because there were so many people for last year. And then same thing. It's just we were. The jersey deadline is December 27th, and that's the deadline to get your name on the back of all the jerseys. And we're going to be filled up before that.
Yeah, and I did. T2 showed me a sneak peek of the jerseys for this upcoming one. They look great. I think people are going to be pretty pleased with those.
Yeah, he does a great job. He tries to throw some homage anytime he can to the city. So Me telling you won't do it justice, but yeah, the Houston Rockets jersey is really cool. We have a tech tee that's going to be available to anybody and everybody that wants to support Team USA in the Combine, where normally you have to attend the Combine. So we made a tech tee. It's a Houston Astros throwback tech tee. And then T also designed a Houston-based Texas jersey. So there's going to be some options for people to buy some extra stuff if they like it. But the Houston Rockets one will also have different colors that will distinguish if you're U16 eligible, U19 eligible, or older. So there'll be a red, white, and a blue, which is also Texas colors. So it worked out really well.
That's a real cool idea.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited for them to come back. And Pate is typing in the chat. He asked, question, theoretically, can a 40-year-old play U16 if they self-identify as 11?
Yeah. Not in Texas, you sure can't.
Yeah, sorry, Pate. And if that were the case, then I think Ryan Podesta would come back and stun on everybody again.
Yeah. Well, Pate, if you're 40, then you should be talking to Mr. Greenspan and Thomas Taylor about making the Masters team.
That sounds good to me. I don't know if he wants to go up against those guys though. You've got some monsters on that team who are still getting it done even in the pro level at the NXL.
Is that the cutoff 40?
Yep.
I got 2 years to prep.
Yep.
38.
No. Yeah, we've got some. Every year, Chris Rail helps me out and runs a report. So I always put my players in ranked by APPA ranking. And, so my Masters report is anybody that's going to be 40 in the calendar year of the event or above. And then it's ranked in APPA order. It's always Ryan's number 1. Yoshi's like number 2 or Alex. Like those 3 are just interchangeable because they're all on the same roster all the time. And then, people start falling after that. Thomas is pretty high up there. And so we're just so blessed to have the ability to choose these types of players for our Masters team. And some of these other poor teams, I'm like, yikes. I'll tell you one quick thing that happened this past year is the very first point of 2024, the Masters were playing in the prelims. Very first point of the first match of the whole event. And right off the break, I think LP gets shot off the break. Frank Connell survives. I think Ryan got shot. Podesta got shot off the break, and then maybe Thomas. And all of a sudden, it's a 5-on-2 with Ryan Greenspan on the Dorito side and Frank Connell's in the home, I think. And quickly, Ryan shoots like one person. I think it was a 4-on-2. Frank might have shot one to make it a 3-on-2 and then died doing something that Ryan was yelling at him not to do. And so now it's a 3-on-1 on Greenspan. I'm like, oh, whatever. We're going to lose the first point. And then Ryan goes out to the corner, shoots one guy, and goes corner to corner to the snake corner, shoots another guy, dives into the snake, pops up on the last guy and shoots him. I'm like, these poor guys had one single chance to win 1 point. And Ryan just was like, nope, not happening. And I was like, okay. And then, yeah, they 5-0'd that team. Crazy. It's just that they could have a team can have everything go right for them, and still they can't win sometimes because they're just too talented on that team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the men's team's so different, really. To be honest, all 5 teams winning back to back, all 5, and then the U16, U19s have actually won 3 in a row because they've won since 2021. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. Pretty lucky.
That's crazy. He's good.
Yeah, and speaking of, so this one's brought to us by Hydra. So the Combine returning to Texas in February, going to Wasteland. And obviously Team USA has swept gold, all 5 gold medals for the last 2 years in a row. So what do you anticipate being on the lookout for this year's tryouts?
Marcelo is such a good eye for what he needs to be able to put himself in a position to win gold medals. So that was one thing that we had the luxury of doing last year's Combine for the first time, was we pulled Marcelo out of running a particular drill and had him really just scouting the whole weekend. So now he's, just walking around, obviously following the groups that have more of the U16, U19, and then up in a tower when the tournament's going on. So he can really pay attention to scouting. So I think that gave us a little bit extra of ability to invite the people that we should invite. Because sometimes, and John, you know this well, being a pro player and playing the back more times than not, sometimes it's the fast guys and the guys that break open games. They get all the glory, and they're the ones the easiest to spot. But the players that are always alive at the end, the players that close games, the players that communicate, like, you can't always spot them, certainly not doing drills, but you can even overlook them if you're not paying attention when you're watching games. And having Marcelo up top with myself doing the same thing, he and I will be bouncing and be like, we got to watch this guy again. He's been alive every single point. And that's kind of what we were able to do last year that I think helped us get some of those closers, especially the younger kids. Getting a really good 3 that's 14 years old sometimes doesn't exist as easily as, oh, look at Cam, he runs to the snake and he crawls down and shoots people. Like, those people are easier to distinguish and identify. But having, an Evan Middleton or even Thomas's son, Keith, he's going to have a good run. He was injured last year. He wasn't able to participate that much in the combine. He had a pretty good tryout, but we just didn't get to see him enough. And he's going to be back at the tryout this year. So I think Keith has a real good chance. But he's a really good closer at the end of the games, good facilitator. And those things sometimes get overlooked as a young player because you don't see him as much. And they're true threes. And even though it doesn't have anything to do with their athleticism sometimes, it really has to do with the mindset, right, John? When to be that quarterback, it does take a higher level IQ. It does take, experience usually. And sometimes in these younger ages, you just don't have all of that in one package. So it's good to be able to see a little bit more.
That's interesting to see that or I hear you say that because I never considered. You're right. It's physically impossible for them to have 5 years of tournament experience at some point, so that's crazy to think about. And like you said, shout out to back guys. You don't get any love. You're in the back. You're either the last one on the left getting, your head blown off, or you're hanging the flag after everybody, shot everybody and look good doing it. So that's a good point. That's crazy.
Yeah. And we have some really good players that play that role. And what's nice now too, I know everybody talks shit on how the new layouts are, and there's too many bunkers and all this other stuff, which I tend to agree with, but it does allow some of those threes to launch mid-game and start really getting into the game, and you're like, oh, wow, that person can not only just shoot off the break, they can close games, they can do whatever. And, I know for the Heroines, Katie Kelly's still one of my favorite players to watch because she knows what to do, and she breaks open games. And at Atlantic City, she won MVP in the finals, and she single-handedly demolished people in the finals because she just knows what to do. And you see people ghosting through the center and just closing games out, going, how can they stand there and shoot this one person? And they just isolate, bunker by bunker, player by player. And some of these younger kids are able to do that at an age where I'm like, damn, that person's going to be real good when they get a few more years under their belt and they know I've been in this situation 20 times instead of 5 times. It's going to be even more deadly. So yeah, it's crazy. The talent that I always say the other countries really are in a deficit. So we're doing some really good things to be as dominant as we are, but some of them really don't have the same resources that we have. So some of them play really well for what they have over there. So shout out to the other countries because there's a lot of players out there that are really good that if they were able to play once or twice a week like some of the kids are over here, they would be just as good too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, looking at like the success that we have had, there's no doubt that these kids are putting in more and more work at a younger and younger age. I mean, you've got Cameron Blanco is, I think, 12 or 13 years old, playing semi-pro at World Cup, going like and winning games in semi-pro at World Cup, and which is like, how often do you see that? It definitely very rare.
Yeah. I mean, the U16 captain, Evan Middleton, plays semi-pro on DMG. It's crazy that, and he's returning as well. So you've got, to your point, 2 to 3 U16 players playing semi-pro, and they're on our Team USA team, where the level of play over there for some of the U16s is majority D5. I don't think we had a D4 player on our team.
That's crazy.
So, you know what I mean? It's like,
that's crazy.
That's what's nuts.
Yeah, definitely. So as far as what you're, I guess this, for lack of a better word, spots you're looking to fill, how many players did you have age out of the Team USA program?
We had a fair amount age out, I think 4. And then 2 of our U16s put in some real points on U19. Eli Roberts and Evan Middleton played a lot of U19 points and helped the U19 team play as well. And then we're lucky enough as well, thanks to the support of Team USA, that a lot of the players, the majority of them, will also play the NXL Europe part of the event. And we typically will have the U19s go and play semi-pro, and then we'll have the U16s play like D3 over there. And then even the women's team played in the European WNXL over there. So they get a lot more paintball in. And they were all very productive and successful over there. The women won theirs. The semi-pro, it might have come in second this year. I know they didn't win.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. So like semi-pro got 3rd, Freedom and Independence.
Yep.
D3 Stars and Stripes won the whole thing. The women, let me see if I can find them. Yeah, Air Force One.
They won the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a successful trip, to say the least, because we literally only didn't win one of the events that we put. So 7 out of 8 events we won. So, and the U19 kids, they played well. So I mean, and Evan and Eli played on that Freedom and Independence team as well. So, and let's see, we had some young kids on the U19 that I have 2 more years with, but we still have Colton Dahl's coming back. He'll be the captain of U19 again. So yeah, we're in good shape. There's no doubt about it. I've got a couple players that are coming to the combine. A D2 player that's playing on Underground, his name's Owen. I saw him a lot play because the Heroines practice at PBC. So we saw Underground. So he's coming out to the combine. I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he has a real shot to earn an invite. And Texas is always going to give me 2 or 3 really good looks at some people we're excited, as you can hear in my voice, that at this time of year I'm always excited for the new season. It's we have 6 of the professors coming out again. We have a coaches clinic this year, which is new to the combine. So Mike Bianca and Ryan will be out there doing a coaches clinic on Saturday, and then there'll be 2 of the coaches that coach in the tournament, along with the 6 professors. So it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I think anybody who hasn't experienced it, like I'm definitely not U16 or U19 eligible. I still had a great time last year attending. I think it's well worth it. So for anybody out there that's maybe like on the fence, I know you said you only have like 5 spots left.
Yeah.
So how do they go and sign up for that?
Paintballcombine.com. Yep. And there'll be a jot form that you can fill out. We get some information from you. One of the jerseys, the Houston Rockets one, is included, along with 2 cases of paint. And then you got the 2 days of the clinic, or one day. It's not really a clinic. So one day of the drills, it's really a showcase, and then the Sunday you'll play in a tournament, and you'll be coached by one of the professors.
All right, well there it is. Yeah, go sign up. All those 5 spots are still available. Yeah. So kind of speaking of underground, I think there was some news that came about from your WNXL team. Do you want to share how that silly season's been going?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that haven't dropped yet that we've been kind of holding back. But yeah, Jen Folk is going to really just concentrate on playing underground D2 next year. So her and her husband, obviously founders of that team, and she was playing some years both. And then actually every year she at least played both in at least one of the events. And this year she really wants to concentrate on trying to get a win with underground and have a win with her husband, which is completely understandable. She's given 3 years to WNXL. She's certainly been like the poster of what a female athlete in paintball can be. While there's plenty of other incredible athletes in the WNXL, I think Jen is the best player over the last 3 years. So it sucks that she's not playing for the Heroines for at least the first event. I'll say that. And you never know what'll happen. If I can get John to come out and help me coach next year, maybe she'll come back and play.
Jeez, no pressure.
All right. So for either of you guys, is there any other teasers or bit of news for Combine, for like the field, for either of your stores, anything at all that you want to be dropping on here?
Mine's out there. I'm excited. We got Wasteland coming at you.
Yeah, you'll get some WNXL news this week. One of the franchises has been sold, so you'll see that news come out this week.
All right. Well, the 2024-2025 off season continues to deliver.
Yeah. There's definitely some movement as well in the WNXL that I'm hoping Haley will be able to break some of it on the coach's show. So,
did she call you?
She hasn't called me, no, but I've been holding back giving out information because I want to give it to her so she can give it to the show. So,
Haley, if you're watching, you're supposed to call him. You know that.
A Houston player, WNXL player, right there.
Yep.
Yeah. I know that there's certainly been a lot going on in the MLPB Pro division, and kind of the WNXL side has, I don't know if they've been quiet or they've just been waiting to release their news, but I'm excited to hear what all's going on that end.
It was a little purposeful because it might have got overshadowed by some of the other things that are going on, and plus this franchise sale is something we wanted to solidify before some of the other move announcements have been made. So that'll be done this week, and then the player movements will be done probably right after Christmas.
All right, yeah. So be on the lookout for all of that news being dropped on the coach's show whenever they get Haley on. So yeah, looking here in the chat before we get towards the end here, let's see. JD asks, whenever you're building a team, I guess referring to the combine teams and Team USA, what is the most important position to fill when building a team?
John, you can go first on this one.
Well, I was thinking kind of like, when you do your draft pick on, NFL, anything like that, imagine, you've got the attackers or for paintball, you've got your attackers you kind of fill in your core guys. You got to have the one good Dorito guy, one good snake person, and then an anchor at least. I mean, that would be my order. Snake is probably the hardest, right? Because people that even play snake don't like playing that. So I would say you fill from that spot backwards.
I would agree that, especially with the extra snake beams and everything else that's going on, that you probably want to put your resources more into attackers with, the 50 something bunkers on the field and the extra snake beams, and needing to be a little bit more athletic and a little bit more versatile. So I would agree with John that if your first 3 picks are probably going to be attackers.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're on social media going through any of those like kind of meme posts, I guess, where it's like, hey, you have $15, build a super team, and you've got all these players listed from $1 to $5. You're spending your $5 on the snake players.
I would.
Probably, yeah.
Because the snake guy can play the Dorito side, but a Dorito side can't play the snake side, typically.
Yeah.
But you can put Axel and Mouse on the Dorito side, and they still know how to shoot straight, and they're even better because they're on their feet. But you put Dalton. I don't know. You put Dalton with his knee that barely works half the time. You put him in the snake. Love you, Dalton. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen over there. You got JC who plays both sides. So yeah, I just don't see. I just don't see it being another way around.
All right, fair enough. Well, there's your answer, JD. All right. So this question's one that I ask everybody that comes on the show. It's brought to us by Get That Shot. Message him on Facebook or Instagram if you're needing media coverage, looking for someone to partner with for the 2025 season. So is there anybody either in Texas or in, the paintball community as a whole? It could be a player, a brand, a project, some like member of the paintball community that you think deserves more recognition for what they're doing? And I guess for both of you guys.
Does it have to be from the business side, or can it be like a team?
It can be anybody at all in any aspect of the paintball community.
They're just speaking for Houston. There's two people now that have become a part of Wasteland. I really like to give a shout out to Philip Middleton that runs Outlaw. He owns Outlaw Anodizing, but also the Outlaw crew of people. Like, I knew he was involved, but learning more about him and understanding that he oversees 30 to 40 players from Houston plus a handful out of state. Like, I thought it was just kind of behind the scenes, but that guy keeps busy and really helps bring a lot of players together that may not have a home elsewhere. He's, I want to say, kind of like a dad to those guys as far as bringing it together. You can count on him to be there, and that takes a lot of time, even though he plays sometimes. His son plays, but he could be the dad that just focuses on his son. Instead, he takes all these people under their wing. And so shout out to Philip. Phil. He does a great job. He's involved. He cooks food on the weekend. He's out there watching, even if he's not playing. His daughters run around and terrorize me at the field. Oh, and steal my Dr. Peppers. But they're fully involved 100%. Anthony, you can send him a bill. She drank like 7 of our Dr. Peppers this weekend. They're strawberry cream too. They're good ones. So shout out to him. And then I want to make sure I don't miss their name up here. They give me a hard time. The Clutch City Oilers from our field. This year they really stepped up. They're semi-pro, but this year they decided as a team, we're going to try really hard. We're going to do drills that require each player actually do drills because they see what Fit's doing. They see what the other guys do it. And they're actually one of the teams in Houston I really want people to emulate and look up to, because they tagged me on, even though they may be at another field, they tagged their sponsors, they tagged the field they're at, and they're doing drills and they're working their butts off. And you saw them at one of the tryouts this last weekend. And I think 3 of their guys were there, and they're all trying really hard to progress in paintball. And it reminds me a lot of like my brother, when he was out there trying to go pro and do his stuff, he worked his butt off. And so shout out to both of those organizations. You guys have really put a lot of time and effort in. You set a great example. They, Anthony, be proud of this. All these guys, when a new player comes out to the field now that we were in charge, they let them jump on. They're letting them jump in the games with them, even though they may want to play with their full line of stuff. So both those organizations have done an incredible job just in the last 6 weeks that I've been involved out there. So, I want to give them credit where credit's due on that.
Those are 2 great examples. We talk about the higher ranked teams and how they say, I'm worth something because I bring teams to your field, blah, blah, blah. But they never let those teams play you. So what value do you really have? And to hear that one of our sponsored teams is doing it right is awesome. So shout out to all the Oiler guys in that organization. And then, Phil is a great guy. He did some of our anodizing for Twisters. His son came to summer camp and had a really good time and is a really good kid. And he's actually a really good player. So he's putting in the work and using the resources like summer camp to get better. So those are the types of players that we want to have at our field, and we want to shout out.
And the obvious answer, Anthony, real quick, I'll be done quick, is Paintball Fit for this year. I mean, those guys did something I was never able to, and I literally, I'm not even embarrassed to say it, I was crying watching them win. Like, my wife's like looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I tried for years to do what those kids have done. And I say kids because they're definitely younger. They put the time and effort in. They've done what every one of us wants to do and has always wanted to do. And they earned it. They didn't get a fluke. Like some of these teams that make finals and you're like, oh, cool, great. Oh my gosh. Look at the history. They played easy teams. Fit beat the teams they had to beat. And they didn't beat them because they got lucky. Like, you know what I mean? They put the time in it. So shout out to JD, shout out to Sarah, shout out to all the kids. Shout out to Cyrus, the new one on their team.
Mm-hmm.
I just met him at an event too. It was cool. We did the podcast or the webcast together. Those guys crushed it and they working their butts off for us. So shout out that entire organization. It's not a team. It's not just a team that's practicing. It's a paintball field with a team that lets people practice against them, like you're saying, Anthony. They let the divisional guys, they run local events, they give feedback, they help coach, they do everything you're supposed to be doing on paper. And so huge shout out to those guys, the family, the organization, everything. You guys absolutely deserve everything you're getting.
Yeah, and that's who I was gonna say, and wrap into that was no, that's fine, that's great. And wrap into that is, you know, the Vibe organization, you know, the Rich Adikas does a great job, and I think that top to bottom, they're the team, they're the field, and you know the organization to emulate. And yeah, that's who I would give it to as well.
Yeah, Fit's been doing a great job. I mean, there's a reason why they're the gold standard in paintball with fields teams, like the way they've been doing it. A lot of others have been trying to emulate them across the country with good reason. And also, you know, shout out to Philip Middleton, who, like, you were mentioning how he's like the kind of the manager for all of the individuals in his program. I think he had like double-digit lines at World Cup across all of the different divisions. You know, not just X-Ball, but 3-man, youth, 7-man, mounds, mechanical. Like he had so many different teams. I know at one point he said his son was scheduled to play like 5 or 6 different divisions in the same day, and he eventually just had to pull him out of 10-man. He's like, no, sorry, that's just too much.
I was talking to them about winning events, and his son runs to the car and comes back, and he's got these medals, and he's got this stack of medals, and he's like showing me like, I win events too. And I was like, impressive, good job. And he's a young dude, so yeah, they're involved in the same thing. They're doing it all on their own over there, and just the support he provides his guys are incredible.
For sure.
Trying to look up, shout out. They have tryouts coming out. I should know this date offhand, but I don't. But if you're looking for a team in Houston, you don't have a team. Wasteland Paintball. Check out Outlaw Paintball. Having a tryout soon. Every division will be open because they're going to do an ICPL team, I think, this year too. So they're going to add to that division or add to that number of teams. They want to do even more this year.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see if I can look it up here real quick. No, they don't have it on their Facebook anyway. I'll have to find when their tryouts are. But yeah, in the chat here, Soda says shout out to Jay Deards and all the hard work he's put into Wasteland as well.
Yep, that's our manager there. Good job, Jay.
Sir, all right. So I think that just about does it. Let me scan the chat here for any other questions. Let's see, Rick Hall's here in the chat. Jake.
He's a Valhalla guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shout out to Rick. And let's see, Lupe, made sure to remind Haley that she has to call you, Anthony.
All right, good.
All right. And then, yeah, I think that just about does it.
Destiny's having a tryout at Wasteland, right? I think Destiny's.
Yep. The Houston Destiny. Yeah, he does, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's late December, I think they're doing 2 days, late December and early January. I just wrote that one down.
Sweet. And then looks like, Jessica Stavina is here in the chat, says Wasteland has never been better than it is now.
Shout out to Jess for our video coverage. She does it at work. And so she came out this last Sunday for our promo day with birthday parties and jail blasters, and some of her footage was incredible. So we used it. Anthony, that's some of the stuff I sent you. So
she killed it. She was doing it for us for Team USA while she was over there, and took a load off of Lori and did a tremendous job. Like I would say way better than some of the people we paid.
Not going to hate on Tony too much, but I used some of Tony's footage and a lot of her footage, and that's what he was out there for. So love you, Tony.
Perfect. All right.
It's because she's taller. She has a better angle. That's fine.
Definitely taller than me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I did find Outlaw Anodizing's tryouts. It's January 11th and 12th. So
awesome. Heck yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Come on out. Give me a call. You guys message me if you have any questions about it.
Absolutely. All right. So That just about does it for our show. This final question is brought to us by Jell Stewart's brand Compete. Message him on Facebook or Instagram. Mention In the Pits for 10% off of your order of soft goods. You can use it for team gear if you're needing it for 2025. So yeah, if Compete's someone that you're interested in going through, be sure to use my code. So gentlemen, thank you both so much for your time. Do you have any last shout outs or things you'd like to say before we sign off?
Shout out to the people that support us working all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's standing right there. So appreciate it.
You got to surround yourself with good people. That's how you get ahead in this game. So I appreciate, John is my partner. Jay is the manager down at Wasteland. We're going to do some really good things. We're hoping to have potentially a grand opening the last weekend in January. So I'm already compiling some really cool committed things, maybe see some clear revos maybe down at the grand opening.
Cool.
Those things are going for like $500. I was like, that is nuts that someone's going to pay $500. Please don't do that. Just show up to our grand opening and have a chance of getting some clear revos.
Yeah, heck yeah.
All right. Well, there's a juicy little tidbit. Yeah, definitely don't miss out on that if you're in the area. So I think that does it for our show. Thank you guys again, and everybody tuning in live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to go follow Wasteland at Wasteland Paintball Park on Instagram. Also go follow Anthony at Boston Original, and follow John at _John Jackson. What other guests would you all like to see on the show? Be sure to leave a comment down below. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button. The show goes live weekly here on youtube.com/@inthepitspaintballpodcast, as long as we're not banned. And recordings are posted to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify the next day. Quick shout out to my partner and sponsor tier subscribers on Patreon, FE Athletics, Get That Shot, Paintball Comité, Compete, BEMRAPS, Hydra, XTPL Events, Mariachi Águilas de Oro, San Antonio 3v3 Series, 71 Designs, and then the websites for Jared Sherman and Jonathan Spaniel. So we will see you guys. Not sure exactly when we're going to do the next episode, 128, since next Wednesday is Christmas Day, but we'll get to it eventually. So yeah, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.